Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself and, what kind of inspired you to become a counselor, therapist.
Um, well, for me, it's this journey from my head to my heart and how to sort of link up my soul calling. And I've always been sort of on this journey to kind of learn more and like figure out why and what and how. And so it led me it led me on this journey to becoming a therapist. I started out in school, I did everything. I was like, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be a social worker. Nope, I'm going to be a police officer. I'm going to work for the FBI. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I had no idea I was going to be a lawyer. And then I was like, you know what? Therapy was on it. I was at the time when I went back to school, because I've done a lot of different things in my life. I've been an event coordinator, I've designed events, I've worked at a boardwalk, done a cafe, all these different things. And then one day I got a job at Gonzaga University. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of Gonzaga, yeah.
So I,
A public university, yeah. I know probably like one person, a friend of mine who goes there, so,
oh, cool.
or who went there, I should say.
Amazing. And I got a job there in the nursing department. And then I was able to get my master's there while I was working there. And counseling just called to me. I just have such a strong desire to help people get out of their heads and into their hearts. And I want to do the same. So that's kind of how I got into it, I guess.
Yeah,
That's a short
because
answer.
yes, because I was like that way too. Like before I even wanted to become a journalist, I wanted to become an architect. Those
Cool.
things as a kid that you're like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and finally you just. I was at that phase too in my life, but then I kind of settled down. So yeah.
Cool. I
Uh,
love
my
that.
next my next question is, what sorts of services do you provide, as a counselor therapist? Because there are many counselors and therapists that focus on a lot of, things.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know what I kind of do, and it's a little bit different. I feel like you might disagree, or maybe your listeners might too, but I take sort of like a depth psychology approach. So like I really like Carl Jung, and it's like all about kind of making meaning out of your life. So taking the story of what's going on in your life and going deeper into like what the soul's purpose, what the soul is trying to teach you in your life. And so I use a lot of guided meditation, which I love. I um have you heard of Reiki?
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay, it's like this like way to like kind of like channel energy sort of like we're all like energetic beings. So I really take sort of like what maybe some would call like a spiritual mindset on it. And I just love to help people open up to their own gifts using that. So, like opening up your inner vision, opening up just like your creativity. So, I kind of like take all these different modalities. Like, I love to use tarot sometimes, I'll pick cards. I just, um, I love to kind of utilize any way to sort of get us out of like this mundane sort of like, you know, sometimes people go into therapy and it's like super serious and you have to like do all this stuff. It's like you got serious problems. It's like I just like to sometimes just break it up a little bit and get people just like you got to take your serious pants off and laugh at yourself sometimes. So I just like to use all these different tools to just help people kind of see themselves in a different light. Does that
Y-
make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, yeah. Don't take yourself too seriously, otherwise, it's just a little. Then sort of the negativity comes into fruition. Um, I
Yes.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm new to this whole concept um thing, which is really great. Um, yeah. My next question is, you
Wait, you're
know,
new to therapy stuff? Oh, my dog is going to come.
the concept of therapy, because it's yeah, it's just it's just so new to me, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's like in the last like maybe decades, it feels like people are like opening up to more.
Hmm.
I feel like, you know, back in the olden days, people didn't really like have the luxury of being able to like sit with their emotions. But now we're seeing how important it is to sort of like really listen to yourself, because I feel very strongly that, all these things that come up for us that we're like, I don't feel motivated, I feel anxious, I feel worried. Like those are all your soul's ways of connecting with you, trying to communicate that something isn't going right.
Hmm. So my next
Yeah.
question is, how important is it for people with PTSD, anxiety to be heard or seen? Like, and I remember I had this conversation with a friend of mine. She goes to therapy, and she
Yeah.
told me one day that she wants to she has a therapist that she wants to feel seen. Like she's seeing a female female counselor because in her mind she wants to feel seen or heard as a woman. So I'm wondering what sort of strategies, approaches do you use for your patients so for them to feel understood, seen, you know?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we all want to be seen in whatever label that you put on it. It's one of the most important things that we can gift ourselves or others. So, first of all, what I use is I will use a grounding technique to help people get safe in their bodies, because a lot of times our nervous system is so haywire that we can't even sit still. And so that's like probably the prerequisite to helping someone feel seen and heard is like, hold on, let's just calm down and get here together so that we can arrive in the space together. And then that gives us a space to then from there be like, what's going on? Let's hear it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of like being in the moment, just kind of, just because, like you said, people are so haywire. They're so focused, like, oh, what am I going to do for work today? What am I going to do for school? They just get so freaked out that they just don't, um, sit down and think. I always like to take things, you know, I like to focus in the moment as opposed to like focusing on the future, because if you focus too much on the future, then you get so fed up and so haywire that you just go berserk, you
You
know?
do. You do. It's like plugging a toaster into and it just goes woo like this.
Like a Pop Tart, yeah.
Yeah, you can't do it. So, especially with somebody with PTSD or depression or anxiety, their nervous system is like just like a buzzing. It's just buzzing, right?
Hmm.
So I use a lot of meditation and somatic exercises, which means getting you into your body and breathing. Get here now with me. Then let's see
Hmm.
what's going on.
Yeah. Um, my next question is, what sorts of testimonials have you heard from patients, like, that you with PTSD, anxiety? What have
Mm.
they said? Like, have they felt like more connected, inspired based on your techniques, approaches?
You know what? The word that's coming up for me right now is permission. They
Mm-hmm.
had permission to like not be okay. They had permission to think about the things that they thought about, to explore things that they didn't think that they could. And they just got to open up to new perspectives. One of my clients started writing poetry, and I just thought that was beautiful. Just really opened up to a new gift of hers, of just like sharing her experience, which helped. But it feels like permission is the biggest one. Is like you get to have the crazy thoughts, you get to have the crazy emotions. It's okay. And that's where it begins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that that was probably, you know, it. And then just having that space to be able to explore without judgment what's going on. Because sometimes our inner critic is so mean and rude that we just need space to get it out. And it can feel inside of here like we have 100 Hitlers, but then when we talk out loud, it's like it just like it irons itself out as we speak it out loud. Do you know what I mean? And then you're
Ye-
hearing it in
Yeah,
this environment.
yeah, there's a lot of like there's this inner voices in my head. You're not good
Mhm.
enough. You're not competent enough to do stuff that if you like say it out loud, say the opposite of what your inner inner thoughts are saying, you just then that sort of negativity reduces. You know what I mean? Like instead of saying, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, just
Mhm.
turn that into positivity, like um
Yeah. And then it usually gets back to something different, the more you're like, oh my God, I've been thinking that I cannot do this. And then you say it out loud to somebody, and then you're like, oh, wait a second. Do I even want to do that? And then sometimes people find out that they didn't want to do the thing that they thought they couldn't do. So it just shifts everything,
it
but you
really
got to get
does.
it out. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, getting help is important. Which leads into my last question here. How can counseling help individuals with PTSD, anxiety, like help them navigate throughout the course of their life? Because many people, I would assume, um, in your sort of line of work, have had some sort of issue, some sort of struggle with a family member,
Hmm.
sibling.
Hmm.
How is that important? Um,
For them.
yeah, for them.
Well, I would say give yourself the permission to reach out for the support. And then with anybody reaching out for therapy, like kudos because it's hard. But I think one thing that can be cool about a therapeutic session is that you can feel free that the counselor doesn't know your family, they don't know your personal life, and they can just be sort of this free space of support that you can access. And it can be very beautiful. It's a beautiful relationship that builds between a therapist and their client. So it's just a space of safety.
And I would also add that oftentimes the relationship between therapist and client doesn't work. I remember I used to go to therapy. I would have this therapist,
Yeah.
and it would go along very well. I would tell her stuff about, what's going on in my life and stuff about my disability. But there came a point where, I just decided to quit because it just didn't feel right. There was something that in which she said that I did not like. Um, I'm not quite sure what it was, but there was some sort of I didn't feel seen or heard as I thought I would. So
Hmm.
yeah, it just goes to show that for some people, therapy can work and it can help, but for other people like myself, it just doesn't work.
Okay. Well, I would also mention that it's also like any other relationship, right? And so if you're dating one partner and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that you're not meant to be with somebody, right? It's just that you got to let go of that relationship because it's not working anymore and it's time for a new one. So a little bit of encouragement to understand that it's the same and that it's a very relational thing if you allow it to be. So,
Mm,
taking back your power from a situation like that and saying, okay, that partner didn't work for me. That therapist didn't work for me. That
that
person didn't work
employer,
for me.
that
Anything.
employer, yeah,
It's all the same, right?
yeah.
So now it's time to find something new, right? When you're done with a job or you're done with a boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, significant other, you move on. Same with a therapist.
Yeah, because it oftentimes you have to do it with a lot of grace and a lot of humility, and relationships can be toxic and tough, but if you have that grace and humility, it can really work out. And
And the therapeutic relationship is a safe place to explore those kinds of things because, where are you going to really get that other kind of place to explore relational issues, you know?
yeah, it's like another friend of mine said, if you focus on yourself, then you can better sort of have better relationships with people, coworkers. And I just thought that that was really sort of insightful and inspiring. Like it, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like if you focus on yourself, you can
Mhm.
then really um, be able to be loved and seen by others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, love and see yourself, and everyone else will love and see you. It's all a
Yep,
reflection.
it is.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Uh-huh.